Russia has denied deliberately targeting a children's hospital in Kyiv, instead claiming the damage was caused by Kyiv's own air defence missile.
Well, dozens are reported to have been killed and over 120 injured after missiles hit multiple cities across the country.
Let's now speak to Robert Fox, defence editor at the Evening Standard. Robert, what do you make of what happened yesterday?
It was a hell of a bombardment, and it's worrying how many Russian missiles got through. As you rightly hinted in the headlines, don't take any notice of what Putin or Putin's people are saying about whether they deliberately targeted it or not. They said they only attack military and aviation target. It was a daylight attack. They've got all the systems. They know exactly what they were hitting, and I think that was no air defense.
And they would have deliberately targeted a hospital?
I'm not sure quite about that. They would deliberately have targeted a residential area because they're up to a game of terrorising the population and stripping out the economy. And we're not paying enough attention to that. They're also using these missiles to trash agricultural land. They're going into the agricultural land to close down various industries associated, such as fertiliser, cooking oil, and they have seized over 50,000 pieces of agricultural machinery and taken it back to Russia. Now, that tells you an awful lot about what's really going on there.
Now, we've got this big world summit, this defence meeting tomorrow in Washington. What about air defence systems to protect places like Kyiv? How much pressure will the West be under to supply those?
In a word, enormous. They have put in Patriot batteries, but it's 3 4s, 3s and 9s, and they need comprehensive air defence of civilian targets. The infrastructure has been smashed to bits in many, many areas, but I think it's where NATO and the American leadership is really open for criticism. They knew darn well that the air war, the close air war, and it's now what's called the deep air war, is decisive. And they have got aircraft coming up over Russia, staying over Russia, and launching glide bombs, simple cruise missiles in quantity. And yet the Biden administration is saying, oh, no, you can't use our weapons to go into Russia in depth. They've done a bit into Russia around Kharkiv. There's got to be a big sorting out, as Harry Potter would say. They need a sorting hat because NATO and the European Union have got to get their priorities, because people are saying, are you going to Trump-proof the alliance? So against a possible future Trump presidency, who will be less keen on supporting Ukraine and the European effort. Absolutely so, because it isn't just Trump. Europe hasn't done the heavy lifting, which it has hinted that it would do at different times, and it's got to do more. That's where Starmer becomes key.
Yeah, there's definitely been growing fatigue, hasn't there, Freddie Gray? And I suppose we're beginning to see an emboldened Putin. We've seen him doing this visit to North Korea. We've got this sort of devil's pact with China, if you like. And he's aware that we're likely to have a Trump presidency in the autumn. Do you think that that is why we've seen such an aggressive act, the worst in a couple of years, yesterday?
Quite possibly, always testing the kind of limits of Western endurance and Western strength. That's what Putin does. I do find the Trump-proofing talk quite funny because, the reason why all these NATO...
Not my expression.
I know it's not. I'm sorry, I wasn't accusing you of that. But you hear it a lot now, don't you? And I find it odd because the reason all these countries are now spending more than 2%, a lot of them are, not all of them, by any means, but is because Donald Trump pushed them to do it. And Donald Trump, for all his flaws, you always have to say for all his flaws after you say Donald Trump, but Donald Trump, for all his flaws, pushed quite hard on military spending, and he pushed Europe to spend more. If only they'd spent even more, we might be in a better position now on Ukraine than we are, because we're running out of money.
So the question on the front of the Express, you see the headline screaming out there today, so what's it to be, tax rises or cuts to our services? Do you see Kier Starmer being pushed, coming up with that 3% that he's been asked for in defence spending?
Let's be fair about that. General Sir Patrick Sanders, who's very fast out of the blocks from retirement. It's very unusual. I know him quite well. But to start gabbing away to the press within a month of retiring is very, very strange. Sorry to say, I think there's a lot of, within the defence community, a lot of office politics going on here. Yes, they need to spend more, but unusually for me, they've got to spend it very carefully and not rush to it. The MOD itself, very badly organised ministry, and the services structure, they need a thorough working over at the moment, and a lot of seemingly at their time promising programs, including the aircraft carrier programs, must be re-examined. They're wasting a lot of money, I think, on quite dubious promises for tomorrow or even the day after tomorrow. It's what we need now.
You would question the aircraft carrier program then?
Well, it's still not up and running to full capacity. Yeah. And it's not going to happen for anything from 8 to 10 years. It's pretty expensive. Mind you, there are very good, very accomplished defence officials in the past. Very famous one called Sir Michael Quinlan, who was a real brain, who warned them about this. Don't mortgage the future of the Navy on two very expensive, very large ships, which will not be able to operate into capacity. And I'm not sure for what they're conceived to do, they're really the right thing at the right time. So they should be down there dealing with the Houthis now. They're not capable of doing it.
Because they haven't got the right aircraft for them, or what?
You said it.
Okay, right.
They're very, very expensive. And that's the kind of thing that, it's not against Trump, but against America. The F-35 program, this enormously expensive aircraft, which is causing actually real grief and a lot of, I think, misappropriated funding from the European allies who've been, in one way or another, forced to buy it.
Okay, well, that leaves us with a whole big situation. As I said, in front of the Express today, what's it to be? Tax rises or cuts to the armed forces? This morning, we would like your views. We would